Okay, we're on Chapter 13, Section 1. So the first two problems have to do with simple interest. So we have this result that the interest that you get is equal to the principal times the interest rate times the time. And then, therefore, the present value is the principal plus the interest. So that's for simple interest. So problem number 1 says we have the principal is $800. So that's how much we're putting in the savings account. The interest rate in percent is 6%, and the number of years, T, is 1 year. So all we have to do is find the interest, and that's all they want. They don't want the current amount. So we're just going to take the principal, which is $800, times the decimal equivalent of the interest rate times the number of years. And so the interest is going to be $48. So 800 times 0.06 is $48 times 1. Okay. The next one is 5. And so the principal is $2,675. The interest rate is 7.3%, which has a decimal equivalent of 0.073. The number of years is 2.5 years, so put 2.5, 2.5. So the amount of interest is the principal times the interest rate as a decimal times the number of years. Multiply those 3 together. 2675 times 0.073 times 2.5, and I get $488.19. So at the end, what they would do is they would give you this money back plus this money, or this money plus that money. Okay, number 9, we're dealing with compound interest rate. But actually, the first is simple interest, and then it says compounded annually. So, and it says, what is the future value? So we'll add the principal back in. We'll write everything down here. Number 9 is $2,500 is the principal. The interest rate is 2%. Which has a decimal equivalent of 0.02, divide that by 100. And it's 3 years. T equals 3 years. So the interest, the simple interest, is going to be equal to 2,500 times 0.02 times 3. 2,500, this amount, times the decimal equivalent of the interest rate times the number of years, and I get $150. So the present value is the principal plus the interest. So in our case, the principal, the initial amount invested, is $2,500 plus $150. And those added together gives me $2,650. Now, from a compounding standpoint, use the formula that says the present value is the principal times 1 plus the rate divided by m, which is the number of terms raised to the n power. Now, in this case, because it's annual, m is equal to 1. There's only one compounding period per year. And normally n is equal to m times t, where t is the number of years. But in this case, m is 1, so it just ends up being t, which is 3 years. So now we can apply the equation. It says the present value is the investment, the principal, times 1 plus the rate, and we use 0.02. We divide by 1, raised to the third power. And, you know, just from a reality standpoint, it should be more than this, but not a huge amount more. So we take 1 plus 0.02, get 1.02, raise that to the third power. So this is 1.02 cubed is 1.0612, and then if you multiply 2,500 by that, you get $2,653.02. So let's compare the numbers. So here's 2,650, 2,653. So you get $3.02 more by compounding it yearly instead of doing simple loan, or simple savings. Simple interest. That's the right word. Okay. Now 13 is, again, simple interest. So all we have to do is, you know, remember interest is equal to principal times rate times time. So let's read the problem and see if we can assign values to each one of these. So it says 13, not 12, 13. Kelly Kunert opened a security service March 1st to pay for the office furniture and guard dogs. Kelly borrowed $12,800 at the bank and agreed to pay the loan back in 10 months with 7% simple interest, finding the total amount required to repay the loan. So, you know, in this case, the principal, we're doing this loan, but it's still the same procedure. So the principal is $12,000, $12,800. So that's how much she borrowed. So she at least has to pay that back, but then she has to add the interest to that. So that'll be the total amount to repay, is this plus the interest. So the interest is the principal times the interest rate. So did they give us a rate? 7%, 0.07, times the time, which is 10 months. So we have to have the time in years, so we're going to have 10 months divided by 12 months per year. And what will happen is the months cancel out, and you'll get years. So it'll be less, it'll like be 0.8 something. But we don't have to convert them, just put that in our calculator. So you get 12,800 times 0.07 times 10 divided by 12. $746.67. So the total amount that he has to pay back is the principal plus the interest for a simple loan. So that's 12,800 plus 746.67. So your final amount you have to pay back after 10 months. There's no payments. There's just the amount you borrow and the amount you get back. So 9. B is 2,600. Oops, something's wrong. Oh, we're on 13. $13,546.67. Okay, right, next 13. We'll do one more in this video. 17. Okay, so this is different compounding. So we have compounded semi-annual, which means 2 per year. So again, just write the numbers down. $480. Interest rate is equal to 0.06. The number of periods per year is 2. The time is 9 years. So the number of payment periods is going to be 2 times 9, which is 18 periods. Okay, so this is compound interest, which says that the principal, the present value is the principal times 1 plus the interest rate divided by m to the n power. So I think we have everything. $480. And the answer is, okay, we also have to figure out the interest, so we can do that once we have the total amount. We can just subtract that. So we take 1, do the stuff in the parentheses first. 1 plus 0.06 divided by 2, that's 1.03, raised to the 18th power. So just make sure you can do it on your calculator. I'll just write my numbers down. 1.7024. And then you multiply that by 480, 817.17. So that's the present value, and therefore the interest is going to be A minus P, and so that's going to be 817.17 minus 480. 337.17.